Okay, I think now we are live. So we can start. Hello, my name is Beatrice Wangari, and I am the team leader at WAAW Homeschool Center. First of all, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today. This is episode 19. It's been such a journey, and you've always shown support to us, which is very huge. So thank you. I'm the team leader and founder of which is our learning focused on bridging the gap in special education, small, active, and inclusive classrooms, the comfort of your home, as well as equipping home-based learners with tools that they require to support home-based learning. And your host on every Wednesday on What's All About Wednesdays. And today we will be talking about student management in the classroom. And our guest for today is going to be a bit late, but nonetheless at Africa. He's Justin Kakoko from Tanzania. And before he gets here, I was thinking, how about we talk about what student management is? Because I believe we are all educators and we've at one point interacted with a classroom. So one of the things that student management is centered around is the wellness of the classroom, just to make sure the classroom works as it's supposed to be, as a unit where the student and the teacher are well coordinated and they are all working towards the same goal. Like, it's not a question of who is ahead of that, but rather a connection that allows learning to take place that is conducive for both the student and the teacher. So one of the things that I have noticed quite recently actually is, as I am advocating for inclusion, and actually this week our CEO is also speaking at an inclusion conference. What does inclusion mean to you as a teacher in a space that is more exclusive to other learners than special needs educators? Like, do you think inclusion works, especially in an environment where it's more centered on learners who don't have any special needs, and then you have maybe one or two cases in your classroom of learners who have special needs? So do you think it is possible to achieve inclusivity? Because I interacted with two teachers this week and they were kind of about the idea of inclusion. Whereas I have been in an inclusive classroom, and it works for me, and I think it's something that should be adopted in every school. But I'm asking now, you guys, do you think inclusivity works? Do you think inclusion is something that can work for your classroom? Have you tried it before, and how has it been? Yeah. Sarah, I think you're the only teacher here. Wengine wajafika. Kwa maoni yako, do you think inclusion works in a classroom that is mostly exclusive to learners without special needs? Do you think it could work as a teacher? Do you ever see yourself, or have you encountered an experience where you are you're teaching two types of learners?
Hi everyone. My voice is a bit hoarse today.
It's okay.
I'm recovering. So what you're saying is true. In fact, it's not something that is new. Currently, I have one who is dyslexic, and I can't say it's really working when it comes to him in particular. That is because the boy is 8 years old, and it's just recently that the parents have discovered that the boy is dyslexic. So the discovery has come quite a bit late, barely 2 terms to the end of the year. So I can't say we've really done much, because initially we never knew that he was dyslexic. and the parent was quite ignorant about it. So we had to raise the alarm. How come your child is behaving this way? What is not cutting? What is not going on? Because you realize when it comes to language or integrated aspect, the child is totally out of the picture. He doesn't appear anywhere, not related, not even approaching any expectation in any aspect that you're doing. So that is what prompted the parents to take the child to the hospital, only to discover that the child is dyslexic. So it was quite a bit late. However, we also have some in our play group section.
Yeah.
We have one with Down syndrome. We have one who is autistic, but the recommendation is the child should be in a normal school. However, for those two, we don't have quite a big challenge because the parents are aware. They discovered it quite early. So the teacher works hand in hand with the parent in terms of what the child is supposed to avoid, how we are supposed to treat the child, things to look out for. And it's working for them quite well. Apart from the girl whom you can tell from the look that something is wrong, you can't really tell from the boy if the boy is dyslexic or not. In fact, you can't even tell. He mingles quite well with the others. Sorry, he has a Down syndrome. You can't tell. He mingles well with the others. He plays well. He's now able to communicate, though not fluently. So I can say it works if only it's able to be detected quite early. The parents are positive about it. They embrace it. And they also encourage the teacher as well. Because we realize when they go for clinic, the report has to come to school. When the child is going for clinic, we have to write a report. How the child is behaving, what the child is able to do. So it really works, especially if there is that good communication and collaboration between the school, the person in charge, the parent, and even the hospital. So I can say it works only if it's detected early and there is early intervention. It does work.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Hi, Bridget. Good to see you. Karibu sana.
Nimefurahi kuwaona. Samahani nimechelewa. Nasikia?
Yeah, we're discussing okay. Oh, pongezi kwa jitihada.
Nimefika Arusha. Walimu wengine wanawasalimu sana.
Tumesalimika.
Yeah, we were at a football match for walimu yetu, so sorry for being late.
Nice.
But this subject is very interesting to me because actually when I was young, I had a lot of problems reading. And I got disability accommodations with the audiobooks. So for me, I don't think it helped me get through college for sure to have the audiobook. So I would read along with the audiobook and speed it up.
Yeah.
And that helped me get through because just audiobooks at normal speed, I couldn't get through all the reading in college, but also it helped to train my eyes to read along with it. And there is an organization called it used to be called Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic. And now it's called Learning Ally. Yeah, but I don't know if it's available outside of the US.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of it as well. But
yeah, I'm curious if I can. I don't want to ask a question that's already been asked because I know I'm late. But if you have any comments about audiobooks for as a treatment or solution.
Definitely. What we're saying is, I'm saying this week I had an encounter where I encountered two teachers who don't believe inclusion works, like mixing learners with and without special needs in the same environment. So I was just posing a question to teachers: have you encountered learners with special needs? For me, in my experience, I have, and I've been able to manage both learners with and without special needs in the same learning environment. So it hasn't been that difficult, but from another teacher's because they have not encountered child with them, so they don't know how am I supposed to manage this child and then look at the others at the same time. So even children with who have dyslexia, even Sarah was mentioning they have one in her class, but it was detected very late, so it's kind of dragged the child out. And then if it's detected early, it's easier for them to mingle together. And if it's even as a teacher, I feel like as a teacher, as a professional teacher, towards your professional betterment, and enlighten yourself about these types of disabilities, because at the end of the day, if it's not your school, you cannot control who comes into your class. So how am I supposed to karibuni sana karibuni tunaambiwa mute. So if the school is not yours, you obviously cannot control which teachers come, which learners come in. So you might have an autistic class to deliver. So how you cannot just say, this learner is, because for many years, which is very sad, for many years teachers have been very, sorry to say, they've been very ignorant about needs. In the corner and do his crayons while I teach the rest. He can just sit with and as I just teach the ones who are listening. But that's where inclusion comes in. How you need to educate yourself. How I know this child has autism, so Google exists. There are so many articles that you can use that have that teach you. Like, it's so direct. Like, even if right now you type in how do I teach a child with autism, you'll get hundreds of results. So why is it so difficult for teachers to go that extra mile? Because, as a professional, if you say I have been able to work with learners with and without special needs in the same learning environment, and this were the outcomes, that even betters you as an educator. It puts you on a way ahead of your colleagues than just saying, this one I don't think he can read, so let me teach the others au nitamwatendia baadaye. So we've had 2 suggestions from Bridget, the audiobooks. So that's something we can also employ in our environment, in our learning environment, our teaching environments, and also be very attentive to your learners, because as teachers, it could be you who discovers the child has either dyslexia or dyspraxia, those sleeper learning disabilities that people do not know about. It could be you who picks it up. And even if the parent is sorry, because sometimes they are like, I know he's just a slow learner, or she's just a slow learner. She, even her siblings were slow. So it's not dyslexia, but it's dyslexia. So how do you help? We will go the extra mile. We have to go the extra mile. It's why we are in the position that we are in as educators. We have to be the ones who push that extra mile. By the time the parent catches up, you're like, I discovered this early, and that's why they're still ahead. Otherwise, angepatwa amebaki nyuma. I don't know how far. Yeah, he's almost the guest of honor. Karibu fika. Yeah. So I don't know if there's anyone else with thoughts on that. On inclusion, it's just a round table discussion about if inclusivity works, and if it does, what do you think we should do, or what we should improve, or what are the things that we can do in our space as educators. Yeah. So kama kuna jambo lingine, William, kuna maoni?
Let me add something.
Please.
There's a question you asked last week. I think was it last week or last week, but one. If you are not doing the kind of work you're doing right now, what would you rather be doing?
If money was not an issue.
Exactly. I think it also applies quite well when it comes to the education system. Some of us are in this teaching career not because we have a passion for it, but because of what we'll get at the end of the month. So that really counts and makes a big deal when it comes to how we handle these learners. And whether we are willing to go the extra mile to accommodate any other child who is not normal per se. Because if I have a passion about what I do, I'll go the extra mile. I would like to know more. When we look at the individualized education program that a teacher is supposed to develop for learners with different specific abilities, some of us don't even have them. Atashikia mbele, that is the slogan. The slogan, atashika mbele, wacha asonge. So long as you know maybe you're not moving with that child, or you're with that child for a short period of time, you don't really care what happens to this child. Bora mwisho wa mwezi you get what you get and you go home all smiles. But for those who have a passion in what they do, you realize they go the extra mile. You inquire more, you can Google, you get books, you go for kind of these workshops, even out of your own pocket, not necessarily the school will do it. Or the government is supposed to empower us. Some of these things we do are supposed to be self-driven. And that is why the deputy was saying nobody can compensate a teacher. And that is only possible if you are self-driven. Even if you wake somebody up in the middle of the night and they are not willing to be a teacher, they are doing it for the monetary gain, it is not going to work. It will not work. So at the end of the day, what you learn in school, I go there, I'm taught, I have a career, I have papers, I'm able to get a job, and that is it. And it's the more reason why, as a person, I really love CBC so much. I like it. I like it so much because at the end of the day, it's not all about books. And the reason teachers are not even for that particular CBC, it's because some of them are the 844 oriented. Mtoto ni akuje shule asome, I get my mark list, it goes higher, and some of the institutions are also for business. No, there are two ways to any other organization. You are looking for profit or you're benefiting the community. So if we dwell so much on making profit, these children are going to lose. But if we are looking on how to benefit the community, it's going to include everyone in the community. So at the end of the day, everybody is benefiting. So teachers really need to take it as a passion. And not to look at the money.
Why am I in this profession? Because what you've said is so true. Because some of the teachers who feel it's a lot of work to give attention to this kind with special needs and we are not even getting compensated. I'm not a special needs teacher. How am I supposed to start learning about autism? Where will I get that? You see, those are so many excuses, but at the same time, why are you in this profession? Because what is teaching even? Not just administering knowledge and then marking exams.
Exactly.
In
fact, I like that aspect because you realize when a teacher is handling playgroup or the early years, especially the PP1, because the system is fresh from home is 4 years and they're joining at PP1. Somebody tells you, I don't want to go to PP1. Those children, they are crying, they're making noise, they're clinging on you. And
that's so loud.
Yeah, exactly. So you wonder what kind of training this person really underwent. I told you I wanted to be a nurse because at the end of the day, nursing and teaching is more or less the same. Because for me to be an ECD teacher, it's like therapy. It's therapeutic in one way. With all your struggles and everything, you go to school, those learners appreciate the small things, even the ones that you don't really get to notice. And when you reciprocate, you get to understand them better. They know you well, and it's easy to manage them. Simple things. Teacher, you smell nice. You look good. Hey, you're beautiful today. You have a nice dress and such like. Even that child who doesn't even know what beautiful means, they'll just tell you, beautiful.
They'll just say it because they feel,
Exactly. And that is how they develop.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's about the passion.
Yeah, it's true. I remember, like, in every classroom I've been in, those two, like, obviously there are so many pressures that come with being an ECD mwalimu, because everyone knows how children can be. It's like little cartoons on sugar 24/7 who don't listen.
Exactly.
So how do you wake up every day and show up? Ask yourself, kwa nini, why am I here? Why am I going to teach? I remember I saw a post. The average high school teacher hears their name called 50 to 75 times a day. Middle school teacher, that's upper primary, hears their name called 80 to 90 times. The ECD teacher hears their name called 100,000 to 150,000 times in the first hour of school. So it's not easy. So you have to have passion for what you do. I remember when we had the discussion about brain development. As a teacher, if I'm the one who's trying to help this child catch up, because they're actual slow learners, not that they have learning disabilities, but they're just actual slow learners. How am I need to figure out techniques that work for them. Not just saying, standing in front of the classroom and just reading a book and saying, you all need to do this, or you guys need to do this. I need to figure out this, so and so is a slow learner, so what works best for them? Is it pictographs? Go the extra mile, draw the pictures, illustrate. And that's why you find in an ECD classroom, there's so many, they're usually so colorful, like you have charts on all three walls, because the fourth wall is a whiteboard or the blackboard. And if there was space to, you'd have charts there as well. So we need to assess ourselves as teachers. I think mgeni wetu amefika ama hajafika bado, maana ni kama amejoin. Yeah, but it was a really good discussion ahead of the teacher student management conversation we're about to have with Justin. Yeah, jambo la kumalizia, kama kuna mtu ako naye anaweza malizia kabla.
If we're still waiting, I had one thing to contribute on the subject of inclusive education.
Yes, please do.
I had an interesting conversation with the youth at Elimu Yetu. I asked them, je, sisi ni shule tunatoa elimu kwa vijana wenye vipaji maalum au vijana wenye mahitaji maalum? So do we do special needs or gifted and talented education here? And of course they thought for a minute, and then at first they said, oh, of course gifted and talented because I'm gifted. But then they looked at, you know, their friends and they said, oh, maybe he has special needs. Or so after we discussed, we realized that actually every human has special needs and special talents, because that's what it means to be human. And so it's not that in your classroom there's a short list of students with special needs. Every single student has special needs, and every single student also has special talents. And the ones that have the special needs definitely also have special talents. So that was a really huge paradigm shift for me. And because we all know in ourselves, if we're honest, that we have special needs and special talents. So each child deserves, I think this is in America now, you know, a huge percentage of students are getting disability accommodations. And it's an issue of debate now, because maybe you get extra time on a test. Is that fair? What if it's really the wealthier students that can pay for a psychiatrist to write them a doctor's note and get extra time on even, you know, a high stakes test? So the truth is really all students do deserve special accommodations that meet them where they are. And if our testing system isn't going to accommodate that, that's, you were saying you love CBC, this is a reason to rethink our whole system if we can't accommodate all people where they are. So that was point number one. The second thing was, my mom has a lot of experience with special education, and she never discusses the student's special needs in front of the other students, but she works with homeschooled kids, and many of them are homeschooled because of special needs. And she has just found something amazing, that it's the kids with the most severe learning difficulties who can contribute the most to the class, because she gets them on stage performing full-length Shakespeare plays and playing the lead role, memorizing hundreds of lines. And these kids are sometimes 12 or 13 with severe learning disabilities. Many of them cannot read, and they are memorizing hundreds of lines of Shakespeare. How does she do it? Even their parents say, is that my kid? They can't believe it. But the amazing thing is, when you get one kid to do that, the effect that it has on the other students in the classroom who don't have learning disabilities is huge. And the effect that it has on the team, they start to see other people differently, that the people they dismissed as not having anything to offer really do. And they need them on the team. They depend on them.
Yeah, that's actually very true. I remember I saw a video of an ECD teacher teaching sign language. So the other kids, you see, as an adult, you when you hear, oh, he's deaf, he can't hear, you're like, oh, it's a disability. But for the children, they're so intrigued. Like, so they don't speak. How do they communicate? How do they use their fingers to talk? You see, if we inculcate that in them, that, there are those who can't speak, but this is how they talk. This is how they communicate. This is their language. And like, when we put that as Bridget said, we are all special in one way or another, and we're all talented in different ways. You find that people will start to embrace the differences rather than be like, oh, he's different, he can't hear. Because sadly, that society we live in, people tend to be very dismissive of people with special needs. Like, oh, even in conversations, be like, oh, he's deaf, he can't hear us. I remember which was very bad, when we were in school, I did a certificate in sign language. Our lecturer was deaf. So we used to make noise, but covering our mouths because he can't read our lips. I'm older now, I'm wiser, I'm a teacher now. But you see, if we try to be accommodative of every learner, every person with their special talents, because even as we have our own shortcomings, just that they're not advertised or broadcast everywhere, I think we are onto something. So before I continue taking much more of Justin's time, Justin, karibu sana. Good to see you. We were waiting for you. Tumetayarisha akili zetu kingoja kusikia mambo mazuri. I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Proceed.
Okay. My lighting is not that good, so I don't know if
it's okay. When Bridget hakukuagiza. But you could just try and put it on, because we are broadcasting on YouTube. Hata kama the lighting is not that good, at least we have a face to,
Okay. Let me try to add some. Yeah.
Kwa sawa, tunakuona vizuri, unaweza endelea.
Okay. Yes. My name is Justin Kakoko. I am an educator, a retail expert, educational and parenting consultant from Tanzania. nitazungumza sana kuhusiana na namna gani watoto wanaweza kuwa manage vizuri in our classroom. From my studies, also from my personal experiences. Yes, so that's what I'm going to do today. Hello.
Hello, tunakupata. You need right to share.
Let me try to share my screen. Okay. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Or should I send it to you so that you can share?
Yeah, you've been given rights. Can you try right now?
Hold on, let me try.
Or you can send it to me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
I share for you.
Okay. Okay, there you go. I sent it to you.
No. So, yeah.
Ilikuwa ni somo la shule.
So wacha ni share content.
So I think we are going to do that.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see that nothing.
I think you can turn off your video so that we hear you better.
Okay, there you go. I can turn off my video.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. What about now?
Yeah, now it's better. You can proceed.
That's good. So that's it. That's what we will discuss today concerning best handling of best methods of handling the students in class or school. As I introduce myself, my name is Justin Akok. I am an educator, author, a literacy expert, a curriculum developer, educational researcher, parenting, and educational consultant. I'm from the educational company called the Wangamtia Academy. Yes, we are trying to bring some impact in our education system, especially in Tanzania. That's what we do. So, in best methods of handling the students, I think we can't get the time to cover all those three parts. But these subjects normally, when I'm trying to speak about, I tend to speak on several things. We don't just go straight on best methods uh, in handling the students in class or school without talking about several things which are essential before you go straight to discuss about how are you going to handle the students in the class or in the school. So the first thing which I normally tend to discuss about is why it is important for educators to know the best ways of handling students in school or class. Why is it necessary? That's the first thing I normally like to discuss about. But also after that, I like to discuss about um, the important things to have for us as the educators to manage the students successful. Yes, you can go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide. So why is it important for educators to know the best ways of handling the students in class or school? Number one, proper handling of the students makes the teaching and learning process possible. You know, ni kazi sana for us as educators to do whatever we want to do to the students kama hatutoweza kuwa handle our watoto vizuri, kama hatutojua ni namna gani tunaweza kuwa handle our watoto vizuri. So in order for any learning to happen in class, we as educators, we must know how are we going to handle the students. You know, we have varieties of students. Students comes in different behaviors, in different background, in different uh, socioeconomic background, uh, and all that. So we have to know how we can handle them so that their learning can happen in our classes. So educators must be aware of how different groups of students act and learn for him or her to teach them. It is impossible for us as educators to do anything in our classes if we don't know how hawa watoto wanafikiri au hawa watoto wana behave. That's the only way for us as educators to be able to serve the children and make them learn anything which we are expecting them to learn. A lot of students do not learn in classes, not because they don't have the ability to learn, but the teachers failed to properly handle them. This is the challenge. This is the challenge part of most of educators not being able uh, to handle the children. So sometimes, or I can say most of the times, most of the children fail to learn not because they don't have the ability to learn, but it's just because we as educators we didn't know any better to handle them properly according to their different differences. So if we educate ourselves, we know how we can handle them, then they can learn. Even those children we say they can't learn, if we as educators we educate ourselves in best ways of handling the children, then they can learn. It is hard to handle all students in class as one big group. A teacher must be aware of all groups of students in each class and how to properly handle them. So for them to be able to properly handle them, we must educate ourselves on how to handle the all groups of children in our classes. You can go to the next one. So number two, why we as educators we have to educate ourselves on how to properly handle the children. proper handling of the children is essential in developing their social skills. You know, uh, most of the children comes in our classes from different social backgrounds. They come from different social backgrounds. So we have to help them to be social, to be able to socialize. So by us as educators knowing the best ways of handling the students, we can make sure that they are learning the social skills needed to be social beings in our communities, in our schools, in our classes. So social skills are the heart and at the heart of the teaching, is the heart of teaching and learning process. We can teach a child if they have they have bad social skills. We must make sure that they have good social skills so that we can teach them. Research shows that students with good social skills perform well in school. So again, we have to help them to be social so that they can capitalize all learning opportunities. They can capitalize all relation building in their community. It's our job as educators. So by us educating ourselves how we can handle them, then we can be able to build those social skills needed uh, for children to be good social beings in our community. Parents, society, and educators are the engineers of children's social skills. We, as educators and other groups, we are the engineers of building social skills of our students in our communities because we spend a lot of time with them. Then we are expected to be able to build their social skills. It is our responsibility to build their social skills. So if we can't know how to handle them properly, it's hard for us to build their social skills. The lacking of social skills in our students is the direct reflection of mishandling of their teachers or parents.
Yeah.
It's proved that uh, children they come in the world to learn. They come in the world to learn how to socialize. So whenever we see the children don't know how to properly conducting themselves, it is a reflection on us as educators. It is a reflection on us as parents. So it is very important for us educators to know how to handle them because we can help them to develop their social skills. Teachers must learn and practice how to properly handle the children in order to help them develop strong social skills, which are essential for their learning. Yes, so it is very important. Watoto wakiweza kuwa na juzi hizi za msingi za kujiendesha ndani ya jamii yao, inakuwa rahisi kufundishika na wanapoweza kuwa handled vizuri na sisi kama waelimishaji, it is a good opportunity for us to help them to be good social beings in our community. Yes.
Okay, just
Okay.
before we go to the next slide, allow me to interrupt a bit, Justin. So for student management classroom, we've had you have to allow them to, you have to nurture their social skills, you have to be able to proper handle them. So can we just jump right into the strategies that we as educators that we can use, examples of strategies that we can employ in our classrooms to ensure that to improve classroom behavior, build relationships for a better classroom or community, and to also foster a conducive environment for the learners to thrive in? What are some of the what are some of the student management strategies that we can employ in our classrooms?
So for me, on this subject, I thought we had to discuss something more before we discuss about methods. That is why I came to discuss here about the cornerstones, what we have to have on our hands so that we can better manage our children in our schools. Yes. So I thought it is important for us to discuss that before we jump into the
Or
methods.
into the universal,
Because
into the
yes,
strategies, yeah? Okay.
yes, because methods most of the time they get supported by certain or different conditions for them to. If you don't have some essential conditions for you to operate by using your methods, then it
Yeah.
be challenging for you to successfully operate. That's my point.
Okay. Okay. I was asking because in the sense of time, so if you could just summarize the cornerstones, and then now we can get to strategies. Would that be okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So proper handling of the students in class or school, presence of all necessary conditions for proper handling of the children. Number two, best methods of handling the students in class or school. Hey, I am on a meeting here. Hey, best methods of handling the students in classroom or school. So we have these two things which we have to have on our hands before we start uh, working on how we can better manage our students in our schools. One is a necessary condition which we must have. Number two, best methods. So best methods most of the times get supported by the conditions, necessary conditions which we must have. Most institutions ignore the first one. They constantly on the quest to find the best methods of handling the students. So you find different schools getting into the trap of all the time trying to find the best methods of handling the students, but they forget that they have to have certain conditions for all the methods which we might get to operate or to work. The results are always minimum since necessary conditions and best methods of handling the students has to go together in a very systematic and sequential manner. The following are some cornerstones of handling our students in school or class. So number one is educators' personal development and self-care. You know, most of educators they they don't develop themselves as soon as after they graduate. So they go straight, continuing with teaching without developing themselves. So the challenge is you can't offer what you don't have. So my first suggestion is educators has to develop themselves for them to be able to handle the children. Research shows that most educators who are continuing developing themselves as individuals, as educators, as professionals, they can best manage and handle the children comparing to those who don't develop themselves as professionals. So my first call is educators have to develop themselves. We have to go through different researches. We have to read different books. We have to uh, get mentors if we can get mentors, get feedbacks from our fellow educators, our fellow uh, professionals in education or in any other field, just to be sure that we are developing ourselves as educators. It can help us uh, to best handle the children. If we as educators we don't develop ourselves, we might we might be given the best methods, and we can find them not useful, because for you to use those methods, for you to use different techniques, you have to be able uh, to you have to be equipped in different fields. The child is not just it's not just mechanical tool for you to go and apply different techniques. You have to know the child as whole. So it's hard for us to perform any better if we don't know any better. I think for that is enough. Oh,
Yeah, I think that's we before you joined in, we were having this discussion about how as educators we need to invest in ourselves as teachers, whether it's toward professional development or emotional, or just to make sure that we are our best for the students, because you cannot control who comes into your class. So
yes,
how do you make sure that each and every student is well attended to, is
mm,
has has gained the most from that lesson. You've employed tactics that work best for each individual student, because everyone learns differently. And
yes,
that just boils down to why you are a teacher in the first place. If you're in it for the money, you're not going to invest in yourself
mm.
professionally, and you're not even
Most
going to care
certainly,
about mental well-being. So as
most certainly.
educators, we need to be
Educate
very,
ourselves.
yeah, educate yourselves, continue learning never stops. You have to continue
Most
learning
certainly.
up, and there's so many materials online that you can benefit from. You can Google, how do I handle such a student, how do I handle a noisy student, how do I handle a student who never listens, or and in the
Al-
most amicable way that everyone
Although
else.
my
Yeah.
my my point on this right
Uh-huh.
now is not about lacking the information, lacking the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now we lack concentration, we lack
Mm-hmm.
focus, and the
Mm-hmm.
I can say over information is kind of confusing to most of us, because we have too much information which we are supposed
Yeah.
to go through, and we find ourselves going partially on different subjects instead of
Mm-hmm.
trying to dig deeper on different subjects which can be useful on our personal development as educators. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure,
because
for sure.
back in the days, the challenge was
Mm-hmm.
getting getting the appropriate information, getting the
Yeah.
appropriate knowledge. But right now, it's not the case anymore. The case is we have to focus. We have to make time for learning, because it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
difficult. Most teachers, when you talk to them,
Yeah.
they come with the excuse that we spend a lot of time in classes, so we don't
Mm-hmm.
find time for us to develop ourselves.
Yeah.
We must find time for us to develop ourselves. We develop ourselves by studying, practice, and repeat. We have to study what we want to do. If you And the best way to know what you have to develop yourself is by looking at your students' progress. So if you find
Mm-hmm.
somewhere your students don't make progress, you have to go and try to
Mm-hmm.
dig deeper on how you can do better, improving your
Mm-hmm.
students. But studying itself is not enough. We have to practice. By practicing, we keep shaping and sharpening what we know, because you can't learn enough by just reading books. Then you do the
Yeah.
same. The cycle has to keep repeating itself, studying,
Mm-hmm.
practicing, and repeating what we did. We start by reading books and other publications, learning from our mistakes, learning from other people's mistakes, learning from feedback. It's hard for us to learn if we don't get feedbacks. It's kind of difficult for teachers to get feedbacks uh, from different people, because it's like we are playing solo. You are playing just by yourself. You make mistakes, it's up to you. You don't make mistakes, it's up to you. So I think it's very important for us as educators to find someone who is more experienced than we are, to give us feedbacks, honest feedbacks on how we do, on how we conduct ourselves as professionals. So that's what I have to say on that. But the okay. Do you have anything there?
No, I think that
Okay.
is that one we agree on 100%. I have nothing to add.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But the other thing is understanding children's psychology. It's hard for us as educators to even speak about handling the students if we don't know their psychology, how they think, or how they behave. It's hard for us to talk about that. We find all professionals start deeper concerning psychology of the particular people they are dealing with. Lawyers, police, marketers, all those people, they study psychology, criminal psychology, animal psychology, client psychology. So us as educators, we have to invest our time before we speak even about handling the students' methods or anything. We have to speak about how are the children think and behave. If we know that, we can speak about the next thing. Most of educators invest their time mastering different subject content. This is the problem. We invest our time in understanding different subjects. We don't invest our time in on how children think and behave. That's what we do. So if we invest our time in understanding children's psychology, we can we can now know how we can do different things with the children. I say most of the educators, they teach subjects, they don't teach children because they know they are competent in their subject areas. But when it comes for them to deal with the children as individuals, you find them, they get challenged on how they can handle them because they invest their time knowing science, knowing physics, knowing uh, teaching reading, knowing math. They know their subject areas, but they lack some skills. They lack some information which are supported by researches concerning how the children think and behave. I think this is very important for us as educators to understand. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So another thing is understanding the changing of time. Before we speak about how we can handle the children, before we speak about how we can handle the children, we have to understand the changing of time. We live in totally different time comparing to, I can say, 2 decades ago. So the needs for education change, different challenges arise. So I think we have to be aware of changing of time because it directly affects how we handle the children. Technology has brought so many different changes, changes that comes with different negative and positive impact. The focus, concentration, yes, technology brought different learning opportunities for children, but we have to be aware that there are negative impacts. We, we are dealing with children who are less focused, with the minimum concentration when we are dealing with them. This is supported by research that different technologies affect how children learns negatively. So as educators, when we're dealing with the children, we have to be aware that technology brought some negative impact on how we are going to deal with the children, and we have to be educated on that. The learning motivation has changed. It is hard to motivate children to enjoy learning nowadays. So since it is very hard to motivate the children to learn, I think we as educators, we have to educate ourselves because all the methods which we are going to use handling the children, they are going to be affected by how the children are motivated. Because if they are less motivated, you can use your best techniques and find yourself in the middle of nowhere because they don't want to learn. So I would recommend for educators to educate themselves on how to motivate the children. My recommendation is we have to start with the children early, building the love of learning early, so that we are not going to go through the trouble of starting lecturing them the importance of education as it was to us. For them, it doesn't work for them. Lecturing, it doesn't work. I think the best way is to start with them early, introducing to them the value of learning, giving them books early, teaching them how to read early and all that, so that they can be motivated from inside, not from outside. Also, parenting has changed a lot. In in different parts of the world, parents are so busy since uh, so this bring more responsibilities on the hands of educators. So educators might want to handle the children by cooperating with the parents, but sometimes it's difficult for us as educators to cooperate with parents as it used to be. So when we are handling the children, we must be aware that most of parenting responsibilities uh, fall on our hands right now. So it's very important for us to know that and stop blaming the parents if we want to handle the children properly. We can design different ways for us to work with the parents according to their situations, because it is hard to change the situations which most of the parents are in right now.
Mhm. I think after this section, then we can take questions from the audience, and then
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So another one is good structured collaboration with parents. Uh, as, uh, as I said, parents, the changes of time affected directly how parents involved in their children's education. So if we want to handle well the children in our classes or schools, we have to design the uh, we have to design the good system of how we are going to involve the parents in our teaching and learning process. You know, it used to be parents used to be uh, feedback feedback receivers. It used to be that way. By now, it's hard because we used to give feedbacks, yes, because parents were a little bit involved. The world wasn't that busy. Most one parent used to be at home, but right now most of the parents, we all doing what we have to do to support our families. So it is hard for us to just give them feedback because we give them feedback without knowing the process. So it is very important for parents to be part of the process, not just receiving feedback from the school management or from teachers. Yes, I say schools should avoid to involve parents in implementation of technical tasks. So if we have to involve parents in technical tasks, we have to make sure that we equip them with necessary skills. We don't just involve parents in technical tasks to help us perform our teaching and learning process with the children if we don't equip them. I suggest that parents right now to be educated about children, educated about the whole process, how we are going about educating the children, so that they can be informed, so that they can be useful in our teaching and learning process. Because if they are not informed, then the burden will be even more on our shoulders. They can help us if they know how to help us. They love their children genuinely. So I am sure that if we equip them with necessary skills, even if it's not technical, they can be useful in supporting us as educators.
1 second, I need to connect my device to the power. I think, wait, where were we? Hi Amos, good to see you. Umefurahi kuona nyote, karibuni. Sasa nimewasalimia. Aha. So there we are. So after this, I think this is the last point in this section.
Yes.
Then we can
Yes.
take questions from the audience, and then we can wrap up because of time.
Okay.
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 You can see
So
my
another
screen.
thing is good. Yes, another thing is good system of handling the students in school or class. So the school has to have good system of handling the students. You know, for most schools which I am visiting or I am working with, you find every teacher has their own thing to do concerning different situations. They don't have system on place that in case we have uh, special education children, this is what we are going to do. Sometimes they don't have even the system of identifying the students with special needs. In case we are going to have children with behavioral problems, this is what we are going to do. In case we have children with learning difficulties, this is what we are going to do. So most schools, they don't have that, which is essential. You can't talk about handling the students and going to the methods if the school don't have even the system of handling the students. Everybody has to say something. It is not coordinated. Everybody do what they think it's right. So you find this very challenging for teachers, for educational managers to come up with the right solution uh, in helping the children to be better, to do better. So I suggested that all educators to make sure, or all the schools to make sure that they have the system. We know most of the issues troubling us in our schools: education, behavior, uh, and different challenges facing the children. So we have to be sure that every challenge which we encounter in our schools, to have the system of dealing with it. That's it. From there, we can utilize all the different methods which we might use in handling the children in our schools or classes.
Umemaliza?
Yes,
Have you
yes,
finished? Yeah.
yes,
So
yes,
okay.
yes.
So I think we can take questions for the next 5 minutes. Anyone who has a question or would like to post a comment to Justin, feel free. You can unmute, you can input your thoughts. Yeah, we have about 10 minutes before we close. Bridget has posted a comment. Oh, I've seen. Sarah says, how learners were earlier socialized is key. Values are to be inculcated and practiced by all. Otherwise, we cannot manage the learners if the mirrors, that is the caregivers, are reflecting the contrary. That is true. And then Bridget says, you began by saying that children come in the world to learn, but later you said nowadays it is hard to motivate children to enjoy learning. Tumekosea wapi? And can you give some examples of ways that teachers and parents might be accidentally killing children's natural motivation to learn? A really good question.
Yes. Yes, they come here ready to learn. That's undebatable. But for most cases, learning motivation, it's channeled, it's groomed. We have to foster learning motivation because it is hard for them to keep doing it if they don't see the value in it. We all motivated to keep doing something. We don't just do something out of nowhere. We must be motivated. We must be motivated. We are trying to talk too much to the children instead of building the love of learning from internal. We are trying to talk to the children. Education is, if you are not educated, you are not going to have a good job. If you are not educated, you are not going to have this, So most children, they don't see the value of all that. It works in our generation, but right now it's more complicated than that. It's more complicated than that. They don't see the value of work. They don't see the value of money because we provide to them. So the only way, as I said, we have to start with them early to develop their learning, love of learning, and how we do the love of learning, starting them early of introducing them with the different learning opportunities. Because we give them to go out, explore, go and play, and all that for them to be able to their love of learning.
Yeah, I hope Bridget umempata and swali lako limejibiwa. Naweza ku-unmute.
Yes, asante. Jibu nzuri. Yes, a great answer. I think the key is that intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. That's the key point. And it's so hard as a teacher because those extrinsic motivation, options are so tempting. It is so easy to control their behavior by giving them a grade, by giving them a gold star, by getting their parents to punish them if they don't get a good grade. There's so many sources of extrinsic motivation, or promising them they'll get hired. But those things, they can prove wrong, that there's an unstable foundation to build education on. The intrinsic motivation of curiosity, that will continue whether the job materializes or not.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true. That's true.
So great answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kuna mwingine ako na swali kabla tujafunga majambo la kusema, kabla tujamaliza mazungumzo yetu? Leo tumefanya for longer than we normally do. Thank you so much for your patience, and also for enlightening us on student management. We'll definitely have a part 2 because we weren't able to cover most of the things.
Okay.
I will reach out to you and we can plan on when we're going to do that.
Okay.
William, no, may I unmute? Uko na jambo? Oh, he's connecting to audio. Oh, I'm on mute. William, I was just asking if you have something to add. I thought you had unmuted because you wanted to speak. Oh, ako sawa. So I think we can close the discussion there today. It has been very insightful and always a learning experience. Thank you so much, Justin, for taking the time to schedule. I know
appreciate
it was very short notice. Pole sana, lakini asante coming through.
Okay, I appreciate.
Bridget, na watu wote wa elimu yetu, asanteni sana kwa kujiunga nasi tena na pia tuonane pia next week. And everybody else, thank you so much. It's been amazing having you. Always a pleasure. And mambo yetu tunajifunza hapa ni practical. Tunaweza kuzitumia katika madarasa yetu, katika, even if you're homeschooling. Personally, I do homeschooling. So it's the same techniques. We just need to tweak and just see what works for us, but it's the same core principles. So I think we can end there unless just you have something to say. Maybe a parting shot for closing.
Okay. I appreciate for giving me this opportunity. I hope I'll get the chance to finish the last part of it because it was very important for us to know all those conditions and other things before we jump into trying to know the methods, which is the last part of us being able to handle the children. So thank you very much, and everybody. I appreciate for your time.
Thank you so much, Justin. I'll definitely reach out. We have to have a part 2. We had a lot of things we have not yet decluttered. We have not gotten into, and there's so much that goes into student and classroom management. So for sure, the audience should definitely look out for a poster where Justin will be presenting the rest. So asanteni sana, mwe na jioni njema.
Thank you very
Always a pleasure. Bye.
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 I appreciate.